morning. You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
Good morning and welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. And guess what? It's not just me again. I do have another guest on today, so you don't have to just listen to me ramble on. You've heard me talk about my B&I, Business Network International, and I have another one of my fellow members from there, and I have Josiah Kessie from Innovative Restorations. And Josiah, go ahead and say hello.
Hello, y'all. Thanks for having me, Matt. Appreciate it on the show.
All right. And Josiah actually does have something in his business that he kind of works with a lot of the folks that I probably work with. He has been doing, he's had a company now, how many years is it?
I started in 2005. We changed names in 2008, but
yeah,
been around a while.
Doing construction and restoration with, from water damage and things like that. And then I don't know if it was new or you've kind of always done it, but the bathroom remodels, making those accessible, walk-in showers, this kind of things. When did that start?
So we started off as a remodeling company in 2005. In 2008, when the economy was crashing, we went mostly to restoration work. We did a little bit of remodeling work through those years. And then in 2020, I bought out a company that did bathroom renovations and walk-in tubs, walk-in showers. And when we bought them out, we started offering that product line in our business. And so it went along with our remodeling business. We are an interior remodeling company. We don't do anything exterior. We don't want to do windows and doors, although sometimes we touch them when it's related to an interior remodel. But we strictly do interior work, so we'll do kitchens and baths, mostly baths.
Okay. Yeah, and the reason I said that, my listeners will know, I always kind of say, I really have a soft spot for Medicare. I work in that Medicare market. It's not just the Medicare market would necessarily need this, but it's usually, our older citizens are the ones that need that. I know I say I are one, and a story I love to share is, when we bought our house, we had a tiny little tub and shower, and it's like, that's got to change, and we were able to put in a walk-in shower. The great news on that was right after we finished moving, it was actually still kind of in the settling in process, I slipped and busted my kneecap. And so it was very handy to be able to have that walk-in shower and have that shower stool that I could sit in and actually take care of myself. I had the hose to do it. I can't brag on Josiah. He wasn't the one who did it at the time, but that's the kind of work he does, so I can speak to the value of it. And people my age, or and the thing was, we were fine stepping in and out of a shower, stepping in the tub to take the shower, but we're like, hey, we're not getting any younger, so I thought this might be a good time to do, to go ahead, new house, let's go ahead and get the renovation, get that done before we even move in. So that's some of the things. Like I said, you may not be ready for Medicare, but you might want to think about, if you're planning on staying in that house forever, you want to make sure you've got it accessible, and that's something that Josiah can definitely help with.
Sure. With long-term care insurance going up and the cost of long-term care, if you had to move into a facility, making your home accessible and safe, with about 80% of the falls that happen within a home are going to happen within the bathroom. So making sure that's accessible keeps you in your home longer, makes you live on your own life on your own terms, right? So, and do you do long-term care insurance?
I do. It's not a major part of what I do. Actually, I was listening to something this morning that I kind of recommend people look at short-term care, which works very much like long-term care, but it's only maybe going to benefits might only be for a year. The issue I have with long-term care, it is one of those things that's a use it or lose it, and it's very expensive. In fact, a lot of companies are getting out of even offering it because healthcare costs have just skyrocketed so much. And there's usually a waiting period or a elimination period of when you need the healthcare. It's kind of like a deductible, but a short-term disability insurance will have that. Hey, it'll pay for 6 weeks, but you have to be out for 2 weeks before it starts paying. Those long-term care will work kind of the same way, that it could be 60, 90 days, 6 months before that you're paying it yourself out of pocket for that care before the long-term care insurance will pick up, which helps keep the premium down. The short-term care plans can kind of fall in and cover that period, so where you might pay part of what you're using for home health. The other thing I always try to encourage people, if you're thinking about doing something with long-term care, is either look at a life insurance product that adds it as what we call a rider. So it's you pay a little bit extra to have that benefit. But if something happens and you pass away and never use your long-term care benefit, at least you have the cash value to pay a beneficiary, whether it's your heirs or it could be life insurance can be given to a charity. So people, but they can have something to kind of leave behind versus, hey, I just paid the money to the insurance company and they have my money and nobody else gets it. You can pass that on. So that's one of those ways. So I do help protect long-term care, but I don't market the traditional long-term care plans. So, and usually when I do get questions about long-term care, it's somebody that needs the benefits.
Oh, and they're already using them?
Yeah, they already need the benefits, and it's like I can't sell them anything to help them prevent that.
It's like buying life insurance the day after you die.
Yeah, kind of like that. I heard
Seems
a phrase.
alive, I swear.
I don't do the home and auto type stuff, but I heard a phrase, from that property and casualty side. They say, it's too late to buy fire insurance when you smell smoke.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's that. Now, you've mentioned in our meetings, obviously, anybody, if you know any kind of contractors, you've tried to get some work done. They're, we're a month, we're 2 months, we're 3 months out. You hear that a lot. And especially, I know you say you have to order for the custom baths and things like that. But you do have some that are kind of ready-made that you can get to sooner because you run into that issue. People, they can't get out of the hospital or the rehab because they can't go home. You want to address that?
So, appreciate you bring that up. So, yes, we do have our standard lead time is out there a little ways. Sometimes that's to do with custom order products. Sometimes that's just to do with scheduling and that our lead time is longer. But we do have out-of-the-box items. So a walk-in shower, we can do a walk-in shower that's a 36 by 60 or a 30 by 60 shower, and we can install it in less than 6 weeks. We've got them in stock in our warehouse, and so we keep some of those for the exact reasons that you just mentioned, that if you have mom's in rehab, broke a hip or had a knee replacement and needs to come home but can't come home without a different option, she can't get her foot over the bathtub anymore, then a walk-in tub's a great solution. We can do them at an affordable rate within 6 weeks or less. And so we've done them as quick as the same week in certain cases when someone says, hey, mom wants to come home, but doctor won't release her until this happens. So we've gotten it scheduled on a Saturday before and done something like that. So
yeah. So you kind of have to add a day to the week to get that done early, or if I got a cancellation for this project that we were going to start in 2 weeks. So we don't have all the supplies for that. We can do this week because we can't get to that one.
So we always put buffer time into a job. If you've ever worked with a construction company, their lead time always changes, right? They tell you I'll be there in 6 weeks, and it turns out to be 7 or 8. We always add buffer time between projects in case a project runs a little long. And that way, it doesn't mess up our entire schedule for the next 12 weeks. We just mess up our schedule for that one job, hopefully. Yeah. And so sometimes we use that buffer time. If guys finish a job even before the buffer time. So if we think the job will take a week, and we bid the job for a week and 3 days on our schedule, then finish it in 4 days instead of 5 days, it gives us time on our schedule. So we can generally drop those things in. Sometimes we do them on a weekend because that's not an option, but our guys are generally willing to make a little extra money and work on a Saturday.
And of course, you got to kick in some overtime then. And
yeah.
So I know how that is. You mentioned working the weekends. We're almost at September here. Doesn't seem like fall yet, but once October hits, I am Katie bar the door busier and I'll get out. I always have a running joke. You say, from October to December, I'm really busy. Well, it starts with the annual election period with Medicare, which goes from October 15th to December 7th. And then you have the ACA open enrollment starting November 1st. And you have anybody signs up from then till December 15th. They've changed their plan then for January 1st. And I expect them to do like they did last year, that they will extend that to January 15th, the actual open enrollment. But if you enroll after December 15th, it won't take effect till February 1st. But the running joke that I do on that is, I say, from October to December, I'm really busy. The rest of the year, I have to work because you're always prospecting and marketing. And that's one of the reasons why I do this radio show, that, get people to know me. I'm not a long-time resident of Cookeville. I'm not a fixture, but I've been in the insurance business now since 2013. So I've got 10 years of experience in the health and life field, and especially the past 9 years really specializing in Medicare. So generally, the questions come up. I usually can answer most of the questions. I still have, I've never heard that one before. I probably should go and research that.
Well, maybe I won't throw any hardballs at you, but my parents are coming of age, which is kind of crazy to think that my parents are coming of age to start looking at Medicare options, and my dad's going to probably start collecting Social Security this year. I'm thinking, good grief, seriously? I don't feel like like I'm that old. I don't feel like my parents are that old, but they're. My mom and I were talking the other day about Medicare, and she's like, I don't really know what the rules are on that, and I don't know if I need to sign up for it. Maybe you can elaborate on some of that.
So some of that is, now, what are they doing for insurance? Just self-insured either through the marketplace or a private plan? Or does one of them have an employer plan?
Neither one, so they're self-employed as well.
Okay.
They own a carpet cleaning business, and so right now they're a part of Samaritan Ministries.
Okay.
Healthcare, which is a needs sharing group.
Right.
But with Medicare benefits.
And some of those plans will kind of coordinate with Medicare, but generally you're still going to have to get the Medicare A and B, which is one of the things I do. I do these workshops where I bring people in. We send out mailers, so they'll probably get one from me on that. If they're within 6 months of their 65th birthday, they'll get the card in the mail. It doesn't look like it's from me, so generally it's going to be junk mail, but they're very valuable. Not a sales presentation. It's just informational. I work with a nonprofit, so I can do that in libraries. And looks like we're coming up on our commercial break, so I'm not finished explaining this, but I will come back in here in a minute and talk a little bit more. Again, my guest today is Josiah Kessie with Innovative Restorations, and we'll readdress the parents aging in after the break.
Harrington for Hope presents Summer Sizzle 2023, August 26th at Defenders Retreat in Silver Point. On Saturday, there will be a motorcycle and Jeep poker run, and there will also be a kids zone with inflatables, silent and live auction, food and drinks, live music from Josh Goodlett, Kelly and Sarah, Heath Coleman, Shattered, Ethan Wynn, and Ellie Johnson. And a big thank you to the sponsors, Averitt Express, Big Mars Fireworks, and Van de Voorde Electric. There is no admission for Saturday. Proceeds benefit Camp Hope. More information at harringtonforhope.org.
Hello, I'm Farron Kefauver, Cityscape Director, welcoming you to Fall Fun Fest September 8th and 9th around the historic Cookeville Courthouse. Change is always a great thing, and this year has plenty of surprises for the entire family. The kids will enjoy free bounce houses sponsored by Life Church. As always, WCTE's Stations of Imagination will delight the kids with a character meet and greet with Alma from PBS's TV show Alma's Way on Saturday from 10 to 5 p.m. Friday night is Tech Night, and we will have a glow parade for kids with a free lantern making workshop before the glow parade. The parade will be led by the Tech Drumline. Fall Fun Fest would not be possible without the generous support of our major sponsors, the City of Cookeville, Averitt Express, First Horizon, Tennessee Tech, Cumberland Auto, Cookeville Regional Medical Center, TNRDF, Putnam Properties, Putnam County, Tennessee, 98.5 KISS FM, and 94.7 The Country Giant.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right, and we are back with Josiah Kessie with Innovative Restorations, and he was asking me just before the break about the realization that his parents are hitting that age that, as I've mentioned, I'm hitting that age in December myself, but they're going to get all kinds of mail, and they have one of the health sharing ministries, and I said sometimes some of the plans work well with coordinating with Medicare. Most of the time, I've had clients that had those type plans and loved them, but they changed to traditional Medicare coverage and the plans that go along with that. So that's probably something they'll probably want to do. Some of the health sharing ministries will kind of work like a Medicare supplement, and how I explain that is a Medicare supplement. Medicare has a deductible, and then it pays 80%, and it pays no more than 80%. So there's never any maximum out-of-pocket protection with the original Medicare. So that's where that supplement comes in real handy, and we'll pick up that 20% and some other things, but that's the general gist of it. There's a hospital deductible, and they'll pick up that. So their health sharing plan may do that, but they probably are still going to need a Part D drug plan. And even if they're not taking any prescriptions now, it's a good idea. At that point, you just go like, okay, what's the cheapest drug plan I can get? Because there is a late enrollment penalty if you don't enroll in a Part D plan when you're first eligible for Medicare.
So if they wait until they're 66 to enroll in a drug plan, there's a penalty, as opposed to if you're not talking about like mid-year. They're just, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the way it works, it's not a huge penalty, but it doesn't go away. What it is. So it's based on how many months it's been since you should have enrolled in the plan. So they'll charge, it's 1% times the number of months. So, a year would be 12%. And then they have a benchmark cost on a drug plan right now. I think it's right at about $34. So 12% times 34, if you go a whole year, we should have had Part D and didn't. And so then approximately, $3.75, $4, somewhere in there, will be added to that monthly premium. If it's been 2 years, you kind of double that, so now you're looking at about 7.5 to 8. And it just compounds however many years you haven't had the Part D coverage, and it's added to the coverage.
So you wait 10 years, you're just doubling your cost for a
right.
Part D.
And the other thing, and it can happen too, something can happen mid-year. You need a prescription and it's, $1,000 or more for a month's supply. You have no drug plan. You have no help paying for that. You're just going to pay out of pocket. You're going to look for one of these pharmacy discounts or something like that. But even if the copays maybe be higher on that bargain plan, as they say, or economy plan, whatever value, some of them, they actually use the terms like value. They don't use economy, but this plan may be RX value. And so it'll be a lower cost. And like I said, a lot of people will get those plans just because they don't take anything, or they may have a very low cost blood pressure and cholesterol, thyroid. They're not very expensive. And a lot of times people say, well, it's not even that expensive. I can just buy it myself. But if one of those lower cost plans will work fine for that, but their copay is going to be higher. They're going to have a high deductible, and their copay is going to be higher on the brand name drugs, but they'll at least cover some of it. So you're not out 100% of the cost, or you may be out, if it's a $500 drug, you may be out 100% the first month, but then the next month you'll have around a $45 to $50 copay for it. So I've talked to my clients and say, when I do my Medicare 101 workshops, I tell them, if you see it advertised on TV, then you probably will experience what they call the donut hole. I hate the term donut hole. The official term is the Part D coverage gap. And technically it's kind of on its way out, so good news there, because in the past there has not been a maximum out-of-pocket on the drug plan for drug coverage. Due to the Inflation Reduction Act, there's some changes been made in the Part D coverage, and there actually is a maximum out-of-pocket. Most people are never going to come near it, but like I said, if you see them advertised on TV, you could hit that maximum out-of-pocket.
So you're talking like what? Not going to hit it like $10,000 a year or something like that?
Not that much, fortunately.
Okay.
It's a weird way they do it. It has to do with the total cost of the drugs. So there's different thresholds. So if they hit a certain threshold based on the cost of the drugs, they go into what we call the coverage gap. And this year, there's a 25% cost sharing that you have on all your prescriptions after you've hit that threshold. And then it goes to what Medicare calls the true out-of-pocket. Once you hit that coverage gap threshold, the drug manufacturers have to discount the drug 70%, and that 70% discount is credited like the individual is paying it. So when you hit that max out of pocket based on still what they're paying plus that 70%, they would go into the catastrophic coverage. And when that happened, they're going to be paying generally 5% for prescriptions. Next year, the good news for the individuals for next year, if they do hit that amount, that it would be they're not paying anymore. But like this year it's $7,400, but it's usually somewhere between $2,500 and $3,500 is the actual cost out of pocket for the individuals before they would hit that catastrophic phase, or as in next year they'll hit the actual max out of pocket. So it's the max out of pocket number's high, but they don't. I think next year it's like around $9,000, but they're not going to be the $9,000 out of pocket. It's going to be less than that amount. But it's a weird way that arrived at that number, so it's not the same for everybody.
But even so, it's not the insurance company providing the Part D coverage or the government on Medicare that we've prepaid all these years. You're saying that the drug companies are forced to discount the cost of the drug to the buyer or user.
Well, they're discounting the cost to the insurance company, I guess. And
sure they are. So,
or they're discounting it to the pharmacy, so the pharmacy isn't billing the insurance company for that part. But yeah, you have to have a insurance plan, and that's one of the things that's so confusing. We talk about Medicare has the 4 parts, A, B, C, and D, and the one thing that they did that actually kind of makes a little bit of sense is Part D is drugs, but you don't actually get that Part D from Medicare. Medicare sets up all the rules and the guidelines, and then the insurance company have plans that meet those guidelines, so they're Part D prescription drug plans, because Medicare has parts and insurance companies have plans. So, but Medicare passes some of that cost on. Medicare, I guess, is going to pay for, and I don't know how Medicare is going to do that, but after that max out-of-pocket hits, there is no more cost to the insured. Medicare is going to cover those costs. I don't know how they're going to afford to do that, because we're facing fears of no money left in Medicare. Medicare and Social Security, they're kind of in the same pool.
Yeah, because the 15% they take from us every single year for the last 40 years of our working careers,
right?
Yeah, it wasn't enough to cover our.
Yeah, well, you only had to have 10.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to qualify for it, you have to have the what they call 40 quarters, which is equivalent of 10 years that you've paid into the system. But yeah, you have, even when you start drawing it, you're still paying into it if you're working.
If you're working, yep. And I would imagine even if you're pulling out of a 401k, that's considered income, and
right.
so you're paying it in.
Well, that one,
even then in your retirement years.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that works, and because I mean I know it's taxable income, but I don't know if some of that when you pull out of the 401k if that goes into Social Security, Social Security or Medicare. That
one would assume it does.
I never really thought of it that way. I just kind of thought that's okay. You're going to pay income tax on it, and I also do the under 65 ACA insurance, and I try to warn people if you're getting a ACA subsidy for your health insurance and you're going to hire Josiah to come in and redo your bathroom, don't take that money out of your 401k to pay him. Get a loan, because that loan is going to cost you a lot less than the subsidy and the tax burden you have because you raised your income by drawing that money out of your 401k.
Oh, that's something I've never thought of.
Yeah, a couple years ago, and again, it wasn't the Inflation Reduction Act, but it wasn't called stimulus, or what was it? There was one.
When they paid us paid unemployment for like all summer.
No,
several months.
After that, it was one of the first major legislations in the Biden administration. But anyway,
I turned off the news, man.
Yeah. Anyway, that plan took away, and it may have been their tax plan or whatever, but it took away the cap on the earnings for being eligible for the subsidy, because what had happened was it was capped at 400% of the poverty level. So I'd have a married couple, they'd be in their early 60s, so they're not on Medicare yet, but they're going ahead retiring, or they left the employer that was covering them before, so now they need insurance, and it capped out at $69,000, and so it was a cliff. And that's what happened to this one couple I had, was they had got their tax credit, so they're getting them, and it was just her I think he was already on Medicare. She was getting like a $1,300 or $1,500 tax credit per month to cover her premium. They're that high. And they did, I think it was a bathroom remodel. Well, they contacted me, the previous year. Well, they contacted me like in March because they had just got with their accountant and said, we got hit with this tax bill because we took that. They had to pay it all back because their income went above that cap. So the good news is now that is not a cap, so their income can be a little higher. It gradually tapers off of what the tax credit is, so they won't be in as bad a shape if they, have an income spike. But the other issue is they now needed to hit that 401k again because they had $10,000 they had to pay to the IRS. And so they hit it again. She's like, fortunately, she was healthy enough to go into an alternative plan that didn't meet the ACA requirements. So it was a lot less expensive, but she still had insurance. So I was able to help them with that. The other thing on that is if you take too much out of those accounts, you could spike your income to where Medicare is going to cost you more too, because if you're an individual and your modified adjusted gross income is over $97,000, you can have a surcharge on your Part B and Part D premiums, and then it's double, so it's $194,000 for a couple. And there's some other levels of that. If you go up even more, it can be a higher surcharge. So there's like six different levels.
Wow.
But so Josiah, what's the best way for people to find you?
They can find us online, Innovative Restorations. They can go to innovativerestorationsTN.com. Google us. We're on Google Maps. And give us a call at 931-707-7700.
All righty, because we're getting close to the end here, I wanted to make sure that Josiah got his info in. As always, you can find me at insurancematchmaking.com, and that does also link to my main business, my company website, but that one's geared more towards the stuff we talk about on the show. There's a spot on there to ask questions and say, hey, can you answer this on the air? Or, hey, maybe you had a question for Josiah. Go ahead and use that. Send that to me, and I'll get the information on to him. And so we make sure that's one of the reasons I like to bring my friends onto the show. It helps them get a plug for their business. And that's what we do at our business networking meeting is we meet for lunch every week, Thursdays at Nick's from 11:30 to 1. And if you got a business or you just started a new business and maybe you could use some help getting referrals, come and join us for lunch and we may be able to help you. It is category specific, so you may come to visit and find out somebody already has the seat that you would like to be in, but it's still, you can get a lot of valuable information there and see if it's something that might work for you. So come see us at Nick's on Thursdays at 11:30. And again, you can contact me, through my website and say, hey, can you give me a little more more information about that B&I thing. So, and also, if you have an organization you think that would make sense that a spokesperson from that organization I should have on my show, send me that info. I don't want to sit here and just talk the whole time. Now, I can be accused of I talk all the time, but I do like to have somebody to talk to and ask questions, give me a chance to answer those different questions, because sometimes I think maybe I said this last week and I didn't, because I was going to say that and didn't, and somebody asked the question, and now I've been able to put that in for the show. So again, it's been great to have Josiah with Innovative Restorations on the show with me this week, and until next week, we'll be signing off here.
Thanks, Matt.
You've been listening to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.